The last topic we'd like to cover from Chapter 7 is power, and this is more of a definition. But power describes the rate at which you either deliver energy or consume energy. So let's talk about units. We've already talked about the work energy theorem. If we're defining work as F dot ds, then it makes sense that the units of work have units of force times distance, right? So the units of this are Newton meters, and this is an SI unit that we call a joule. If we're talking about how quickly we're doing work or how quickly we're delivering energy, we're interested in the power, which we'll define as the work done, right? Work per time. And so it will have units of joules per second, and we call that a watt. All right. I'm sure you've all probably seen that before, but it's important to be explicit about it. And then one more thing that I want to make explicit as well. So if we take a look at the units here. So a joule, or rather a watt, is a joule per second. And a joule is a Newton times a meter. And a Newton, right, if we think about it, what's the unit of force? What are the units inside that? It's a kilogram meter per second squared. Right. So it is accurate to say that the watt has units of energy per time, but it's also accurate to say that the watt has units of force times velocity. And why is this important? Well, we might ask the question, if we have a certain amount of resistive force, right? Say at if we are moving at, say, 30 meters per second, which is about highway speeds. So we're cruising along at the highway. And we know that there's a combination of friction and air resistance that is going to try to slow us down, right? So if we know that, if we say we did some calculations and we found that that was in total about 2,000 newtons of force, the question is how much power does our engine have to supply just to keep us moving at a constant speed? And knowing that watts can be expressed in terms of force times velocity, it becomes easy to say that, well, the power that we have to supply is 2,000 newtons times 30 meters per second, right? And this is going to come out in terms of watts. So 2,000 times 30 is 60,000. So this is 60 kilowatts. clearly it's not a car that we're driving along the road. Maybe it's a Land Rover towing a Land Rover, and that's why it takes so much energy. But that's the sort of calculation that this aids by looking at power as not just energy per time, but also force times velocity. All right, do we have any questions about power?